Hi, and thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me for this journal spread. I'm working in my junk journal and I'm using the junk journal January prompt, which I will have in my description box below. And today's prompt is paper samples. So the idea for this spread I had was to use this lovely vintage postcard and to make a belly band for it by putting some paper samples on the belly band. So that was the idea, and I am trying to find a page in my junk journal where this would work out well, and I'm trying to find one that where the size and the color of the page would match with this postcard. So I'm kind of having a hard time, and this is the challenge I face. Almost every spread is to find a page that works for what I want to do. This is new for me because it's the first time I'm working in a junk journal. I'm used to working in like traveler's notebooks with empty pages where I just go from page to page and I make my own spreads. So but it's something I'm enjoying for this journal, so it's good to try something new. So here I'm using a marbled beige cardstock, and I am just cutting it down to fit the size of the page that I had finally selected in the meantime. And I'm just now cutting it to fit that height of the page. It's gonna be a tight fit with the card, but it should work out if I really glue only the very edges of that belly band. So next step now is to go through my scraps to pick out some paper samples, and I'm going to be taking my huge lovely chest that I had received from one of my besties. Thank you, Zainab. And I am storing the majority of my paper scraps in there, and it's already overflowing. I've only been using this for maybe 2 weeks, and it's just getting more and more and not any less. No matter how much I try to use them, there's more I'm putting in that I'm taking out, but I'm guessing I'm not the only one with that problem. And I didn't speed this process up a whole lot because I always love seeing other people's treasures and scraps. So I'm assuming if you're watching my channel, you are enjoying that as well. So that's why I didn't want to cut this short, and I wanted you to have a peek into my little treasures. And then of course the question is, how big does a scrap need to be thrown away? So I'm guessing everyone kind of has their own idea of what can still be kept and what not. Sometimes I feel really guilty about throwing even small scraps away, but usually then I just say, hey, look at how much I have. I will never ever be able to use it all, so if it's a tiny scrap, just throw it out. There's really no point. I will never ever be able to use all of it, and as I said, it keeps growing. So yeah, I always feel like happy when I can use some scraps, but you know, it's it's kind of pointless because it still keeps growing. So at this point I should have actually stopped because I had enough scraps, but somehow I think I felt like I would miss out on some awesome scraps that need to go on that belly band, which is not that big anyway. So I kept searching and thinking about what else I could put on that tiny belly band. So I think this is getting close to the end, and I did have that postcard. You can't see it, but I had it in view so that I would know which colors might match that card. Yep, it's endless. The search is just endless. Oh dear. You can just skip ahead if this is too long. Okay, I'm done. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I'm going to keep that card there as a reference, and then I'm gonna go through the scraps I picked out, which would be enough for probably 20 belly bands. And now I'm just ripping off smaller pieces that would actually fit on the belly band, and I'm trying to choose which ones I actually want to use in the end. Of course, most of them I will not use. There's a few that I think would fit nicely. I'm kind of just gonna layer them as well. I'm just kind of tearing them more or less in a similar size. Not really, but kind of. Trying to make sure that there's some which have some points of interest in them as well that will be layered more towards the top. And there's some with some writing that I am thinking that I'm going to put more towards the bottom. And of course, I'm not even going to use all of those that I'm tearing up now. Okay, finally, that's enough. So now I'm going to put the card aside, and I'm going to lay these out just so I see what I have. And I'm first going to choose which ones I want as like a base, and I'm just very like I'm just gonna put a small amount of glue on them because I'm going to end up sewing those on. But you could just glue them as well, but then you just glue them better than I'm doing right now. So now I'm just kind of layering them and trying to put the ones with more interest on the top layer. And it looks a bit crazy. But these are good samples of what I am currently working with. So now I just ran it through my sewing machine, and I have this little piece of scrap here. Actually, it would be fun to make a whole bunch of these and then just have them ready for junk journals as tuck spots, as belly bands, as decorations, put on tags if you cut them down, whatever. They're very useful. Actually, I should really do that. So then I was thinking I wanted to put some kind of label on it so I could put a word on it, but neither of those worked for me. So I abandoned that idea. And so next I was thinking that card, it just totally didn't work for me anymore with the belly band because there was too much on the card and too much on the belly band. So I decided instead to put something a lot calmer on the bottom. So I found this random page of a sort of vintagey book, or at least it had the coloring of a sort of vintage book. I don't think it actually was. And so I just cut that down so it would fit underneath the belly band, and I decided to use this image of what looks like a herb, maybe rosemary or something. And I wanted to tear that down so that you could put it on the book page and then still see some of the book page underneath, but for it all to still fit under the belly band. So I'm tearing this down enough so that you can still see part of the book page. And since I had done some sewing, I decided I'm also going to do some sewing on this, and I just sewed on the herb onto that book page off camera. So I'm just gonna do that and just see that's much calmer now with that background, so I like that a lot more. So here I've just sewn it, and just gonna cut off the threads a little bit. I do like when they show a little bit, but not when they're too long, so I just cut those off the belly band as well. And so next, I think, yeah, I'm gonna glue that belly band down just with some tacky glue. Just pressing that down a little bit. And then I wanted to add a word up in that corner that was empty, and I just spontaneously decided to go with the word calm, since this page has calmed down in the process of working on it, from this loud image of the vintage flowers now to this very calm image. And I'm using my Recollections clickable alpha stamps, which I feel like I've neglected in the past few spreads, so I'm very happy to use them again. And I've come up with another advantage actually, compared to my newer rotating stamp that I have in my last AliExpress haul from December. So this one has the advantage that you can also stamp the words vertically and not only horizontally. So that's something I've been doing quite a few times, so I'm very happy I have these. And of course with the rotatable one you can only stamp horizontally. So here I just stamped the word calm with my vintage photo ink, and I wanted to ink the edges but I did not, so proud of myself for not doing that. And now I am using my rotatable stamp just to put the date, because the font is smaller, so I wanted to use that. And I'm again using my vintage photo, and there it is, there's a date, and that concludes today's spread. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got some inspiration for your own spreads. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Have a lovely day. Bye.